Hello viewers, welcome to CodeForAny. E-commerce inside today need to see this here the project setup of the SwiftUI. We need to explain in details. We need to how to write down here the common class as well as no common methods. We need to writing here and also need to make this here the utility class. And we need to first of all the create here the new projects. We need to add here and select this here the app iOS inside the app and to click on next, and then after need to product names. We need to give this here the e-commerce. We need to set here the project names. We need to configure, and then after need to write down here the e-commerce, and here demo to need to change here to code for any for the organizations code for any like yours, and bundles like this creating sears. Select here the interface as a Swift UI and language as need to select here the Swift. And testing system need to set this here the nuns because we need to know any staging systems, and storage also none set here. So now we need to click here, and we need to apply this here the Swift UI inside. We need to give this here the creating sort this here the max create like here creating these projects. Now we need to done here. We need to first of all the declares here the some directory structures. We need to creating here. We need to create here the new folders for the fonts like here. Then after we need to create here the another folders, and we need to set here the names as a view. We need to fonts and renames. Set here the capitals are capital app like here. Then after we need to creating here the another folders. We need to need here the model. Then after another folders view model. Then after we need to create here the common folders common, and another one folders. Set here the UI common like this. Need to implement this here, and you need to creating here the all things. Now we need to import this here the fonts. First of all, we need to copy this font here, and we need to put inside the font, and we need to copy to destinations, and we need to set here the project names. We need to finish here. Then after we need to declare this here the font property. We need to font provided by application. So need to integrate inside here the info list files. Need to go inside here the projects. Select here the info and also target this here the e-commerce. Go info and need to create here the plus signs, and need to find out here the font provider application by like here, and we need to create here the array, and we need to add inside the this array. We need to set here open this here, and items once we need to set here the names of the OEFT back info, and open here, paste this here, and we need to another add like here. Need to select here this file medium, same as now need to copy here the regular fonts and semi bold. Like we need to putting here the fonts, and also need to creating here the some common class. We need to integrate here. First of all, we need to make here the utility class of the common UI. Need to go here, need to write down here the new file, new templates, and we need to select here the SwiftUI view, create here the new files, and we need to write down here the utility. util utils class. Create here, and like this utils need to creating here. Now need to set here the class. Remove here these ones, and also remove here. Remove here, and we need to set here the class functions, as we need to save this here the data. Need to use a default standard to set here the save data. We need to use here. Need to this most important parts. If you here the logins, then to save any storage inside the data, need to use this here the user standards. User default standards we need to use here. We need to create here the class, set here the functions ud is set, and we need to set here the data any formats. We need to data types set here the any. Then after we need to set here the which case inside need to save this data key names, like here need to declare here. Now we need to write down here the user default dot standards set data, like this key we need to set here. So also need to sync this data, synchronize need here. Now this is the save, and now need to retrieve this here the data. Need to use this here the UD values. Need to set here the value. Need to retrieve here. Need to write down here the class functions, and we need to get. Otherwise, need to set here the value. Need to rename here the value, and give this here the strings and return this here the any. Like we need to setting here now returns, and we need to call this here the user default standards dot get this here the object to remove here, and to set here the value for key, like here. If you get here, as we need to set here the any, like we need to get here same as now need to ud value bulls we need to getting here. Need to write down copy and paste two times, and we need to set here the bulls and true bulls bull, and here set here the true bull, like here. And we need to set this here the types as optionals. We need to as bull. If you not found, then we need to return this here the false. Same as now need to copy, but we need to return here the true. If not found, then to return this here the true. Like we need to getting and setting this value, and we need to remove this here the key functions. Also need to write down here the remove, and remove objects and synthesize we need to call here. Then after most important parts, if you convert into the any JSON string for the data, we need to getting here the JSONs of the this UI, then to converting here and returning this here the string of the serialized, and returning this here the data class functions, and we need to write down here the get JSON. Need to pass here the object pass any object, like here's question mark, and return this value as a any optionals, maybe availables or not availables, like this. If here's object equal to nil, then we need to return this here the nil, like here's. And for each data in contents, we need to use here's for each for object string in object. Need to write down here the do case. If let, need to get here the object data is equal to object string as optional string data using, so we need to call this here the UTF-8 else parts. We need to returning this here return try JSON serialize objects, pass this here the object data, and options inside we need to write down here the mutables. Mutable containers like here's we need to given here's and returning this here's, and we need to write down here the catch block like here's, and need to print here the errors. And if you not found anything, then we need to return here the nil. Next, we need to write down here the getting here the JSONs for the strings. Now need to converting here the another class most importance of the JSON string inside. We need to convert any objects. We need to write down here the functions. We need to call here the functions JSON string, and we need to give this here the object as we need to pass any, and we need to convert here the pretty priority print. By default, we need to set here the bool. And we need to guarantee we need to use this here the guards let and data try to JSON string like this UTF, and we need to call here the string. If not found, then two brackets inside the JSON object string inside need to converting here, and we need to return this here these functions. Here, sorry, what the string. Check priority print. Write down here the else parts of this guards. Next, we need to write down here and we need to set this here these functions for utility class. Now need to done here the utility class integrations are the set here. Now we need to integrate here the common UI extension class. We need to develop here. This is the most importance of the every projects. We need to put here. This today video is the every projects need to here the configures. If you large amounts of this project developing, then you need to this is the common functionality. Every projects inside mainly use this here. Now, first of all, we need to create here the common utility. UI extensions we need to develop here, create here the new files, select here the SwiftUI, and we need to give this here the name UI extensions. Next, we need to creating here the file UI extensions, and we need to remove these all things like here. First of all, we need to declare this here the fonts. We need to declaring here. Now need to set here the num, and we need to use this here the metropolic fonts. We need to write down here the metropoly. Polish. As I need to declare here the string like here. Case I need to set here regular, medium, bold, heavy. I need to change here the heavy and black. Remove, copy here, paste this here, and I need to declare here the semi bold. Like here, I need to declaring here, and I need to set this here the name regulars equal to medium, semi bolds. and bold. Like this, we need to declaring here the fonts names and we need to setting here. Now we need to write down here the extensions of the fonts. We need to write here the extensions font. We need to set this here the static font functions. We need to set here the custom font. Declares here font as need to set here the metropolis font size CZ plot and I need to return this here the font. Use this here the custom font. We need to use here the customs name and size. We need to give this here the font row value and we need to set here the font size. Like we need to declaring CRs and we need to use this here for this data. And next video inside the adds here the custom fonts. We need to return this directs here the integrates here the font dots like this. We need to return this here the view. We need to write here the common functions, but we need to next episodes inside we need to cover here. Now we need to today we need to declare here the commons. Now we need to needs here the some screen related to write down here. So we need to write down here the extensions and we call this here the CZ plot extensions. We need to develop here and we need to use here these extensions for the getting here the screen size where you need to write down here the screen width, set here the doubles, return here doubles, and we need to write down here the returns as a need to set here the UI screen dot main bond size dot width like here. Same as now we need to declare here the height and we need to set here the height like here. Same we need to call here the functions. We need to width percentage. How many width we need to need this inside the percentage. We need to declare this here. We need to set here the static functions and width vr as we need to declare this here the double and we return here double like here with percentage. Need to use this layer here the shortcut functions screen width multiply by here percentage, remove here the 100%. Need to write down here the comments. If you 375 of screen and we need to need this here the 50%. Need to call this here the 0.5 means it to get here the retrieve 50%. If you need here the 25 then to write down here the point 25 need to calls need to 25 of this screens you need to get here. Same as now need to get here the heights of this percentage. Need to paste this here. So need to replace with here the screen height here and also need to change this here the name as a height like here. Need to calling here for the heights. Now this is the most important part. So need to every time need to need this here the stop insert need to need here. First of all need to need here the safe area static need to write down here the where stop insert return this here the double right here the functions need to if let key window need to call here the key window share window filters dot once need to this is the olds and calls need to change these functions need to UI applications brackets inside to write down here the UI applications dots need to call this here the share dots need to call this here the connected screens then after gets here the push brackets as optional so need to set here the UI window scenes optionals, and then after need to get this here the windows first brackets inside. I need to return this here this window e window dot save area to top, and if here not found then to return this here the 0.0. Like for the tops, same as now need to create here the bottom. Need to write down here the bottom insets. Need to write down here the bottom like here's, and need to horizontal insets and verticals also need to configure here. Horizontal inset. We need to declare here the left plus right like here's. Same as we need to create here the vertical. Need to change here this name, and we need to declare here the verticals insets, and we need to set here the top, and we need to write down here the bottom to like here the declares. And now need to F inside into most important, so need to apply here the colors, need to color extensions, and we need to declare this here the color. Inside we need to get this here the where primary colors. Yep, return this here the color UI color. Here's primary app colors. Maybe need to declare here the another static factors. As strings methods need to on where to add here, need to init and hash strings like need to write down here for these functions, and we need to write down here the let's as string is equal to call this here the hash dot string dots need to get this here the terminate characters alphabets and inverted like this write down here where int is equal to need to set here the u integers 64 as you need to set here the 0. Now where scanners need to use here the scanner string has need to call this here the scan has 64 as int. Let's need to call here the argb 64 need to call here the switch statements like here's, and we need to give this here the value as count. Need to set here the patterns as a 3 means you need to get here the rgb 12 bits minus and need to write down here argb write down here the plus brackets 20. Creates like this here the init distance 8 multiply by 17. Same as now need to copy to paste here. Now we need to change here, so need to set here the 4. Second one is set 4 and O X F. Need to set here like this. Same as now need to copy this line of codes and we need to paste this here. Replace with here the int. Remove here this all value. Also here's 17, and we need to get like this here the bits value. Same as we need to write down here the case 64 24 bits. Then need to write down here the case as 6. Need to return this here the rbg. Need to set here the 16 remove here the setting. Also need to hit app and remove here this 18. Then after so need to multiply by and app clean these methods. Now if here the 32 bits colors, need to set here the 8-bit like here, and we need to set this here. Copy this RGB. Need to set here 1/1/1/1/0. Need to return here, and if here, then we need to copy this here 24 16s. Maybe here no need these brackets. Need to clean here. This code. And here so need to set here the and 0xFF. Set here the 8 and need to call this here the and FF4. This is we need to write down here, and we need to self dot init, and we need to call this here the specify colors RGB and opacity. Call these methods. We need to call this here the sRGB, and we need to declare this here the double. Call here R divided by set here the Z and set here the blue. Next we need to call here's blue, and one most thing importance opacity. Need to call this here the yeah. Like this need to call this here the hash code. So need to implementation here and need to set here. Now we need to set here the primary colors of this app. We need to declaring this here. So we need to need here primary app colors. Inside we need to set this here the hash colors. We need to use here. Like here. For the primary colors, we need to declare here. Need to call here methods color as set here the colors red colors. Need to put primary colors. Then after we need to set here the secondary app colors. Maybe here make here mistake. That's why getting like these errors. Same is now needed declares here the needed colors. Full times placed. Primary text, secondary text, then after white text, then after placeholder, and last one is the basic colors. Like these colors are the need here. Placeholders inside we need to set here the secondary text colors into place here. Set dot secondary text. Like here's whites inside dot white colors. Like here's secondary text need to set here 9BBB 9B 9B 9B. Like here's then after primary text 2 6 times 2 and secondary colors need to put shares like this. We need to configurations for related to colors need to set here and configure this here. Now we need to set here the corner edges need to write down here the edges extensions UI view and we need to return this here the functions corner radius plot radius corners also need to write down which corners need to need here. Individual corners also need to managing this here. For these methods UI rect corners return this here the sum view we need to call here. We need to declare this here the first of all the round corners to create here the textures set here the round dead corner need to set here the shape class need to declare here where radius as set here the cg plot dot infinity where allocates corner UI corners set here the all corners. Now need to write down here the functions path return this here the path Beijing path and we need to return here UI Beijing path dot cg path rect corners and radius. Heights also need to give this here the radius. Like its integrations are the needs and implementations are the setting here. Need to write down here the functions inside. Return this here the clip are saved. Need to write down here the corner radius with corners radius as I need to set here the radius corners as I need to set here the corners like we need to return this years and we need to integrate years. This is the common utility class we need to integrate and project setups are the done here for these projects. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.